Okay, Tony.
Okay, we're ready?
Yes, yes.
All right, hello everybody and welcome to the International Theosophical Convention's Youth Forum. My name is Tommy Welsh and I'll be your moderator. Just a heads up, we will have available for this event a interpretation from English to Spanish. So if you'd like access to that translation, click on the interpretation tab on the bottom right of your screen to have access for that.
Ok, no sabemos si hay alguien que no entienda inglés. En caso de que haya, pueden dar clic en el botón de interpretación y elegir el español. Si es así. Gracias.
Okay, today we have 4 wonderful humans, each prepared to give a talk on the topic of embracing the inner life, a truly practical subject for all of us. But before we get started with that, I'd like to take a moment and thank all the amazing people who've taken time out of their busy lives for the last couple months in order to put this event together behind the scenes. Thank you to Catalina and Seth Edwards, as well as Sarah Ortega van Vlolten, Emmanuel Mapwe, and Christopher C., along with others who have done work in their respective regions. I apologize if I incorrectly pronounced your name. It's much appreciated and it wouldn't have been possible without you. With that being said, I think we're ready to explore what it means to embrace the inner life. Our first panelist today is going to be Yunuen from Mexico. And I believe we have her video being shared right now.
Hello everybody, I'm Yunuen Fortanell, I'm from Mexico City, and by now I'm working in Central African Republic, and that's the reason I'm sending this video, just in case connection is not working at the time of the meeting. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for the invitation to this convention. I'm very happy to participate. Well, my presentation doesn't have a PowerPoint because I couldn't share it. But anyway, I have my text. Well, generally when I start to study a new topic, especially theosophical, I look for the terms I don't understand in the glossary, theosophical glossary, that it's a very useful tool that HPV left us for understanding better her previous work. And well, I look for this term, inner life. The title of this presentation is What Does Inner Life Mean? Because, well, this convention is about embracing inner life. So yeah, when I hear the title of the convention, it was quite interesting for me, going deeper to know what does really mean inner life. So, well, I went to the glossary and, well, that term is not there. So I tried to go through some HPV previous work, and the term inner existence is cited by HPV in the Sacred Doctrine and in other of her work. So I'm going to quote what HPV used it. She said, is a metaphysical dimension in the physical world of space. The essence of things have only a punctual existence, but in the metaphysical world of thought, they have an infinite depth inner life. When we apply this concept to individual humans living in this moment right now, so as incarnated, HPV says in verse 138 of The Voice of the Silence, your shadows live and fade away, but which in you will live forever. The fleeting life. And these are the only two quotations I found in HPV work I could read so far. So I decided to go through some other authors. It's interesting, in the Bible, in Ephesians 3, verses 16 and 17, Paul wrote, every good individual finds Christ in his inner man. An inner man is a term found in the Theosophical Glossary that is used to designate the true and immortal entity in us, not the outward and mortal form of clay that we all call our body. The term applies only to the higher ego. However, it's very important to understand and emphasize that all of us are the universal one self personality. But now, when we are incarnated or manifested, we live under the illusion that we are separated things. That illusion is called ahankara, the concept of I, the egoistical and Mayavic principle in the humans. Due to our ignorance, which separate our I from the universal oneself personality. This concept is called egoism as well. That is the opposite to altruism, a quality of performing actions tending to do good to others, regardless of self. Other authors like Trigueorino Neto, that are theosophists, have helped explaining with more detail. And he says, the individual spirit is part of the universal spirit, individualized by its own union with a physical form. Matter is a field for manifestation of the soul in our level of existence. The soul is vehicle in a higher plane for the manifestation of the spirit. So, according to Jinara Sadasa, another theosophical author, after all, truth is a matter of discovering oneself. No one can do this for us. What others can only do this for us. What others can only do is to point out the way. But discover and embrace the inner life is an individual and personal work. Each of us treat our own path, care our own future, retain our own experiences gained by ourselves, and we don't share them unless we want to share them with others. Even though each person is an individual life, all of us are linked in mystic ways to all our fellows in a siblinghood. Not a single unit of life is annihilated. The victory achieved by one is not for oneself, but for the totality of life, which has been seeking that very form as the best through which to unfold its dormant energies. No personality is better or more important than another. All are equal. We are one whole, made of unlikely parts, mutually dependent. That's the key of the evolution of form. Not one personality, not one creed or mode of worship, but a diversity of personalities and creeds and a ways of service, all united to cooperate to bring to realization what is behind of all lives and forms, and their heart and soul is a great consciousness, to whom there is no past, what has been or happened to us, and what is happening even now is in this consciousness. The past is the present, and the event of each moment of past time is still happening in this consciousness. It's still a part of its present self. That's why it is so important that each of us find our work. That thought of consciousness itself, of what each human shall be, in the perfection of our given personality. Each ego achieve the best personality version when in our present incarnation we discover for releasing the hidden powers within us. By battling with circumstances as we achieve that work. So to do that work, to do our work, we must have a body of flesh, otherwise we cannot work. The advantages or handicaps the body has are those provided by our parents, evidently, who were the most serviceable to our ego for the lesson we have to learn and for the work we have to do in the particular body that karma assigns us. For me, this is all my participation. I want to thank you, all of you, and I hope to see you in presence in this event. Otherwise, I send you the best of my regards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yunuen, for that wonderful talk. I just wanted to apologize. I wanted to give her a better introduction, but I was fumbling with my papers to find her bio data here. And just to give a brief synopsis of who Yunuen is, Yunuen Fortanell Estrada is from Mexico City. Her formal studies are in health sciences, but she has always been interested in knowing different cultures, places, and people. Besides gaining deeper insight to her thoughts and emotions for improving her relations to others. However, she felt there was still an unexplored part, her soul or higher self, that connects to the creating source, that made her come to this world and meet people who always make her learn something. Her curiosity to know more than more about that creating source was Yunuen's motivation to join the Theosophical Society, where she became a member in April 2017, and also other religions and occult studies, looking at them not as dogmas, but as tools for spiritual development. So thank you again, Yunuen. All right, our second speaker today will be Justin Tanksley from the United States. Justin is from the national headquarters at the Theosophical Society in America, Wheaton, Illinois. He is 35 years young. Justin has been a student of Theosophy since 2017 as well, and is studying with the Dharma Study Group, along with the Wheaton Occult Lodge there in Wheaton. Justin works in the Theosophical Publishing House, as well as the Quest Bookshop, and he's also an organizer for YADA, which is an acronym for Young Adult Theosophists in America. So without further ado, we'll listen to Justin's speech next.
Hello, and thank you for having me here at the youth portion of the 146th International Convention for the Theosophical Society in Adyar. I am very thankful and grateful to be able to share with everyone a little bit in regards to the topic, embracing the inner life. When I was growing up here in Illinois in the United States, I had so many wonderful opportunities and experiences. I had lots of friends growing up. I had a chance to play any sport I wanted, and I chose basketball, and I played for many traveling teams and my school teams. I grew up in what many would consider a big house. I was blessed to have both of my parents around my whole life and also to receive a top-notch education, at least relative to the area that I was raised. I went to school dances, I drove stick shift cars, I dabbled in things that society said not to do. I worked at a country club and I saw glimpses of the quote-unquote rich life. I worked as a banquet server and witnessed many wedding celebrations. I had an opportunity to work in a law firm and I also delivered pizzas. I have had the chance to travel to other countries and around the U.S., and I now have 5 nephews and a beautiful little niece. I got every job I ever asked the universe for, and my life at a glance has been a wonderful adventure that I would never forsake or regret. Now I know that intro was a bit long-winded, but the point I am attempting to make is that I have seen the treasures of this material world, the physical life. I have lived the potentials that this outer life offers, at least to some extent. I have tasted this life in its outer forms. In all of these experiences mentioned, something was always lacking. Something was always missing, and to me, all of these things that come from the periphery, or what we could call the outer world, or material, physical, and dense plane of our being, they only brought temporary pleasure at best. So there is this inner quest. There is a part of me that always found peace and meaning that wasn't found in these outer forms. It was always found in seeking God, in seeking spirituality, and seeking that which was outside of the box, or rather, that which was inside of me. Sometimes I would feel it in church, sometimes in nature, or in times of quiet reflection. These were the places and times that I realized there was something deeper in me, something that I think we can all connect to. Essentially, what I am describing is my inner life. So the difference between outer life and what we are calling the inner life, to me, is really a difference of the one being temporary, that being the material outer life, and the other being eternal, that is our inner life. One of these comes and goes like the wind, and the other is always there like a mountain. It is always with us. It is us. In this particular incarnation, I have chosen to pursue the line of the inner life, to embrace my spiritual life. The inner life to me is realizing more and more of our heart's potential. It's finding center. It's in being the stillness and peace. It is the identification with the cause. The outer life can be looked at as the effect, the periphery, the ever-changing flux and movement. Ultimately, it is temporary. And perhaps down the line, we will come to an understanding that maybe the inner and the outer are one, but I'm at a stage where I am simply beginning to consciously embrace the inner life, and therefore I am very limited in my understanding and perspective. But I wanted to share my perspective and not just dive into an intellectual regurgitation of what I've heard in passing or read in a theosophical book. Because by doing that, it isn't alive, as my own words and feelings are. Before I wrap this up, I would like to tell you about some of the ways that I am embracing the spiritual life, and that is through discipline, meditation, serving the Theosophical Society, my family, and society at large. serving the Theosophical Society at large, concentration techniques, and daily observation of my lower self. The ability to help people in service is another way that I am able to cultivate the inner life. But service doesn't always take on the stereotypical forms we may be used to. Service, I am learning, can be doing anything with love and devotion, offering it up to God and just forgetting about it. Study and contemplation about what we are reading are also other practical ways to embrace the inner life. Did I choose to go this route of the inner life? I don't believe that I, Justin, have chosen this particular life. It's more something that was inevitable for me to pursue in this particular lifetime. And I say that because the inner life is something that I could not have chosen otherwise. It is who I am, and it is why I am on earth at this time. To pursue this understanding of who I really am, who we really are, and where we are going, I believe that once we've entered this spiritual path of occultism, the true spiritual path of occultism, Atma Vidya, once we find theosophy, once we find the ageless wisdom, it is forever something that our souls will pursue. And I think we are blessed in different ways to have the environments and personalities that are conducive to the nourishment of our inner lives. I will end with a reading of the lyrics from the movie Prince of Egypt, and the song is titled Through Heaven's Eyes, written by Brian Stokes Mitchell. A single thread in a tapestry, though its color brightly shines, can never see its purpose in the pattern of the grand design. And the stone that sits at the very top of the mountain's mighty face, does it think itself more important than the stones that form the base? So how can you see what your life is worth, or where your value lies? You can never see through the eyes of man. Look through heaven's eyes. A lake of gold in the desert sand is less than a cool fresh spring, and to one lost sheep a shepherd boy is greater than the richest king. If a man loses everything he owns, has he truly lost his worth, or is it the beginning of a new and brighter birth? So how do you measure the worth of a man in wealth or strength or size, and how much he gained or how much he gave? The answer will come. The answer will come to him who tries to look at his life through heaven's eyes. And that's why we share all we have with you, though there's little to be found. When all you've got is nothing, there is a lot to go around. No life can escape being blown about by the winds of change and chance. And though you never know all the steps, you must learn to join the dance. So how do you judge what a man is worth? By what he builds or buys. You can never see with your eyes on earth. You must look through heaven's eyes. Thank you very much for having me and giving me this opportunity to share a little bit about my perspective on embracing the inner life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justin. Much appreciated getting your own personal journey and point of view on some of those things. All right, our next speaker will be Stephanie Vargas Cellular, a telecommunications engineer, master in project management. She began attending lodge meetings at a very young age with her mother, who was already a member. Currently editor of the Bolivian magazine of Theosophy, a librarian of the Theosophical Society in La Paz City, and a volunteer in the TOS La Paz, Bolivia. active member of the group of organizers of Young Theosophists in Spanish section, volunteer in the Virtual Center for Theosophical Studies Spanish section. Her purpose now is to work on the spread of theosophy and service. So I believe we're ready for her speech now.
Steffi, please unmute yourself.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I will share my screen. You can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. The Jewels of Theosophy. His book adds about the 4 qualities that we must have, not only to enter the path, but at every stage, every day, and until the end. These qualities are discernment, desirelessness, good conduct, and love. Now, we cannot analyze each of these qualities for lack of time, but I would like to mention the last 2, which are good conduct and love. We will start with good conduct. Krishnamurti tells us that we should calm and quiet our thoughts, not let the mind wander, concentrate on the things we are doing at that moment, and do them as good as possible. Have good thoughts and keep the bad ones away. Let our thoughts have good purposes. And if we have good thoughts and with good purposes, they will become action, right and good action. Also, to fulfill our own duties and always offer help to others. To be kind, gentle, and tolerant of others. Learn to bear the bad things that happen to us cheerfully, understanding the law of karma, accepting and being able to see in those situations the teaching it has for us. Krishnamurti quotes an instructor who said, "Whatsoever you do, do it heartily, as to the Lord and not unto men." When we do things from the heart, things go better. And this we should do in every moment of our lives. And finally, have confidence in ourselves and in our master. Trust in the things we do, believe in ourselves, and have the will to continue on this path. Ms. H.P. Blavatsky wrote in one of her letters to her friends, "With each morning's awakening, try to live through the day in harmony with the higher self. Try is the battle. Nothing else is expected of you. One who does his best does all that can be asked." The other quality I want to mention is love. Krishnamurti tells us that is the most important quality, and as he explains, love is will, and it stimulates us to feel ourselves with the other qualities that are needed to treat the path. I would like us to reflect now on love, and that unity from which we all emanate, that deep love that as students of Theosophy lead us to believe and aspire in brotherhood, that powerful feeling that can do anything and can change things and how we see them. As I mentioned before, have good thoughts at every moment, and the things that we do, to do them with love, to create a habit of taking out the bad thoughts and replace them with love any inconvenience that we have, for example, with another person, not to judge because we don't know what he or she feels or the problem that person has. So if we add love, that is thinking about the other person with affection, love without judging, our perception of that person and the situation itself will change. Our reaction will be different and everything will certainly turn out better than it will have if our reaction had been anger. Then it will no longer be a reaction that we will have, but a response. And the difference between reaction and giving a response is quite significant. It is also important for us not to judge ourselves, not to be so hard on ourselves, and treat ourselves with love. Albert Einstein said, there are only two ways to live your life. One is a thought, nothing is a miracle. The other is a thought, everything is a miracle. Now, as students of theosophy, we know that miracles, as religion puts them, doesn't exist. Even H.P. Blavatsky said so. Everything in the cosmos, including us, follows the law of nature. But I would like miracle in this phrase to see it as an extraordinary and wonderful event. So everything that happens every day around us is extraordinary, wonderful, and can be seen in the wisdom of nature, all life and how interconnected everything is around us. For example, let's think about how a forest is kept alive. We cannot do it without considering the interactions that occur between plants, animals, and other organisms that inhabit it. We know many examples, such as the work of bees, birds, and when an animal dies in the forest, the interconnection between plants and trees under the ground, which even help each other when one of them needs nutrients. And without the forest, there will be no oxygen that we need to live. So life of which we are part is interconnected, and it is wonderful. I heard once before an anecdote of a Chilean psychologist who told a conference, she said, very depressed. She asked him as an exercise or task to write down in a notebook, of course, with the help of another person, all the good things in his life. The patient arrived the following week with 4 complete notebooks, all the pages full. Now I quote some of the things that the patient wrote. The temperature of the shower in the morning. The wonder of drying myself with a dry towel. Being able to lie down on a bed with clean sheets. The smell of a toast. The sun hitting my face when I walk. The smell of flowers. The kindness of a cashier at the supermarket. And these are the things that we have every day that we take them for granted. We don't value them. This psychologist said, I'm more blind than my patient. And it's true that sometimes we are blind of what's around us, maybe because our daily life, work, studies, problems, etc. We forget in most of cases to stop to appreciate, value, and thank for these things. So, as I said before, if we think that everything that is part of this world where we live, everything that surrounds us, even ourselves, we see it as something extraordinary and wonderful, We must be grateful for all that, appreciate the details of our lives, and be thankful for everything. I believe that if we always keep this in mind, and we are conscious of this, it will lead us to see things in a different way, closer to unity, to fraternity, that everyone and everything is interconnected as the Master teaches. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Beautiful, heartfelt speech. Much appreciated. All right, we're ready to move on to our final speaker. Today, it will be Rafael Marquez de Albuquerque. Again, sorry if I mispronounced that. He is the president of the Florianopolis Lodge in Brazil and the director of the youth movement at the Brazil section of the Theosophical Society. He has published 2 articles in the Theosophist entitled Theosophy Undefined and The 7 Rays in Context. He works at as a university lecturer at the University of Vale de Italia and has a PhD degree from the University of Nottingham, as well as an MA and a BA from the Federal University of Santa Catarina in Brazil. So, Rafael, I think you wanted to say a little something before you got the video of your speech started. So, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say hello and say that I'm very happy to be here with you all again, and I hope we have many other opportunities. I would normally like to make my presentation live, but just like Yunuen, I'm kind of isolated at the moment, and I was very unsure about the quality of my internet. So for this reason, I decided to record. I apologize because in the recording, I'm kind of looking upwards. It can be a bit strange, but there are some nice images in between the videos. And even though I mentioned different techniques, most of my presentation is focused on what we could say meditation. And I focused on what we could say the dangers of meditation, or perhaps the traps that we can find in the meditation way, or perhaps just like I used in the title, the challenges of the inner life. So thank you for your attention, and if you can begin, thank you.
When we are learning about a theme, it's useful to ponder about its negative side, such as difficulties, misunderstandings, traps, and dangers. This perspective is helpful if we are to succeed in any endeavor, and it applies to the theme of the inner life. It can be illustrated by the famous warning of the voice of the silence, "Under every flower a serpent coiled." One relevant aspect is to keep in mind that the inner life is not detached of the outer life. It's beautifully described in the contradictory aphorisms of the light on the path. We should seek the way by both retreating within and advancing boldly without. This is also clear in the Bodhisattva ideal so cherished by Madame Blavatsky, seeking enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. This duality of the spiritual path can inspire us to take a pragmatic approach to the inner life, avoiding a spiritual path that is solipsist. There are moments in the spiritual journey when the disciple must go alone. However, the altruistic path described by theosophists is like a ladder. In each step, one finds a better way of service for humanity. The inner path must be connected to the outer path. We can engage in a variety of techniques related to the inner journey: meditation, mantras, rituals, exercising involving astral travel or dreams or chakras, or others. At the end, we could ask, what is my objective with that? And what are the concrete results coming from that practice? In a way, the altruistic approach described by Blavatsky can motivate us to believe that these techniques can be useful as long as they transform us in better workers for the higher divine plan. But do they? Many useful results can come from walking an inner journey. Peace of mind and emotions, for instance, allows us to have discernment. Developing our intuitive faculties can also be crucial, as we need inner guidance along the way. A concentrated mind can help us focus our energies in what is essential, and detachment or dispassion can be a liberating trait to allow us to engage in service for humanity. Some people may even develop healing skills or other special capabilities. But what sort of thing should switch the red light on, warning we may be getting lost in our paths? I believe one of the biggest dangers is delusion. In the process of opening up to our intuition, we may end up excessively credulous, taking any clue as conclusive evidence. Some people can have, for instance, some strange feeling during meditation and end up certain they activated a specific chakra. Or else, they can have a short trance and believe they reached an advanced sort of samadhi. It can go further, and if a historical character, such as William Judge, comes to your mind when we are meditating or in a ritual, we can conclude that we must be his reincarnation. There are stories of theosophists who strongly believed they were the reincarnation of someone important. It's a sort of delusion that fits well the theosophical paradigm, and we should keep an eye open to them. People who are sensitive can be particularly vulnerable to that sort of delusion, mixing up legitimate intuition with desire and imagination. When it happens, there's a risk of feeling excessively special in relation to others who are not so blessed. Moreover, it can be a barrier to reach advanced states if you believe you already got there. How would you keep the discipline to reach deepened states if you are mistakenly sure that you reach Dharma Mega Samadhi every Tuesdays and Thursdays in your 1-hour yoga session? In that regard, Colonel Alcott is an example that demonstrates a healthy skepticism, in my opinion. Perhaps the most iconic historical episode that illustrates that is when Alcott meets the master in New York and the Mahatma leaves his turban as an evidence that it was not Alcott's imagination. We should keep in mind that Alcott was watchful of the danger of self-delusion even while in direct contact with Mahatmas and during his training with Madame Blavatsky. Alcott did believe in all sorts of phenomena, but he would not jump easily to conclusions, keeping his mind open to possibilities with suspended belief. In the old diary leaves, there are many accounts in which he would search for alternative explanations to what he experienced and sometimes even test up his hypothesis. His approach was down to earth, and it sounds reasonable that theosophists would value that approach, at least until we are sure we are in front of a real adept, and it's not likely to happen in our present lives to most of us. In our process of developing intuition and avoiding delusion, some of our main foes are desire and pride, and we should be vigilant of how desire and pride influence what we call intuition. Another danger is getting fascinated by preliminary results from a spiritual practice. Sometimes when people meditate or engage in ritual or mantra, they feel good. It can be fascinating. Some people may see colors and listen to sounds that are not there, feeling that they are either very heavy or very light, or other bodily strange sensations. Sometimes there is relief or joy or other positive feelings. All that can be pleasurable, and in general, the Buddhist tradition tells us that they are a good sign in our meditation practices. However, they are neither the end nor the goal of the practice, and people who are sensitive can be particularly vulnerable to get stuck in these sensations. In these cases, a spiritual path can become like a pleasurable playground, or like using a recreational drug. You go there, you have fun and pleasure, and you leave the practice in the same state you came in, or even worse. There's a risk that you're not transforming yourself in a deeper level. You're not cultivating a more permanent emotional peace, clarity of mind, altruistic motivation, or any trait that will help you to become a better worker for the higher cause. In that sense, the relationships we have with people around us can help us to understand the effects of our spiritual practice. This is one of the reasons why, in Buddhism, the spiritual community is considered one of the three jewels, alongside with the teachings and the great teacher. Our relationship with others is something outside of us, and tell much about our inner journeys. The power of spiritual friendship should not be underestimated. The spiritual path is a path of balance and paradox, and one of the most important paradoxes we have to balance is the inner and the outer paths. I shall end with a citation that represents it from the Voice of the Silence. Both action and inaction may find room in thee. Thy body agitated, thy mind tranquil, thy soul as limpid as a mountain lake. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafael. It was a very informative and pragmatic perspective that you provided us with. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So that concludes our 4 panelists. We are going to be ending the YouTube live pretty soon, but I don't know if we have a promotional video for an event for next year, and we're gonna show that first before we move on to our breakout rooms, which will be apart from the YouTube live. So I think we're ready for that promotional video now. And yeah.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. I would like to say just a few words about an exciting event that has been confirmed for next year to hold an international gathering of young theosophists. And this will take place in one of the 3 international theosophical centers in the Netherlands, in Europe. I speak today on behalf of the organizing committee, which will be working together in the coming months to plan and organize this event. And we really hope that many young members from different countries around the world will be able to attend to share this experience, to share our views on theosophical teachings, volunteering activities, finding ways to be of service, and also gather inspiration together to face the challenges of the future from our young perspectives. Moreover, President Tim Boyd will be present during this gathering. And now I will show you a little preview we prepared with the basic information we have so far.
Sarah, you are muted. Oh, okay.
So that was the information we have now, and more will follow in the coming months. So I hope you stay tuned. And in case you have any questions, you can also contact.
Thank you. That looks beautiful. All right, so that will probably end our live stream on YouTube.